All right, welcome to the Mindcraft podcast. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I have as our distinguished guest today the amazing Julie May, a friend that I've met in our mastermind group, the Rising Tide Connection, and we just instantly hit it off, instant energy. So I'd like to tell you about Julie May. Julie May is a self-love expert. I can't wait to hear more about that. And also, she's a well-known speaker and author. Her book will be coming out very soon, actually. So welcome, Julie May.
Thank you.
So
I'm
glad to
super
have you here.
excited to talk to you today. So this is going to be great.
Excellent. So glad to have you here. And okay, to start off then, I'd like you actually were mentioning something about really wanting to talk about New Year's resolutions because you have your own spin on that. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's hear about it.
So, and this kind of, I've been working with clients on goals for many, many years now. And this is just a pattern that I've noticed this last year. And I'm like, I don't know how well that serves us. So I am all about finding those like deep principles within yourself, those things that are like the most important things to you, and aligning your goals in your life with those things, right? And so it's a very internal thing for me. And so a pattern that I'd noticed over the last couple of years, and this has been like something that's been out there for a long time. So people get to this time of year, and even any time of year, and they'll be like, okay, I want this fancy new car, and I want a bigger house, and I want like all these big things, right? And they'll stick them up on their vision board, and they get super excited about them. And here's the thing about that. I have nothing against super nice things. I am like a hotel snob. I do like nice things. However, this is the problem when it comes to like an external. A lot of times they're doing that because it's like, oh, so and so has this big fancy car, and they said I could too. So I'm gonna put, Lamborghini up there or whatever, right? They're not understanding the time cost involved in what is up there. And they're not like looking at it as is this really aligned with the life I want to lead long term? So you put these things up on your vision board, and then all of a sudden there's a cost to it. All of a sudden you're like, well, I'm going to have to like hustle super hard in my business. I'm going to have to work extra hours. I'm going to have to maybe start a side job. And all of a sudden, like things get out of balance with yourself and out of integrity with who you actually are, because those things weren't necessarily considered when those things were put up on your vision board. Does that make sense?
It totally does. So you're kind of talking about the concept of uh, time freedom,
Yeah.
right?
Time, freedom, and having those things align with the true desires of your heart. So like one of the first place I say to start anytime you're like, I really want to kickstart, I have some goals, I have some direction I want, is to take some time to do a little bit of meditation and go, what do I really want out of this next life, this next maybe year or 6 months of
Right.
life? Like, how do I want that to manifest? How do I want my health to look? How do I want my vitality, my freedom, how does that lend towards an overall of what's really actually important to me, and knowing what's important to you? Because there are times where we work a lot to make a sacrifice for something down the road. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that. It's knowing that it is like down the road, that alignment is there, that supports your core. So like, for example, like I do a lot of event production. I do quite a few big personal development events that I'm the producer of, right? And I know during that time, when it is the month before the event, we have 500 people coming, I know I'm going to work a lot. But I also know at the end of the day, like when the people are in the audience and I'm sharing a message and I can see their transformation, I know that that's in alignment with what I want most. And one of like my personal driving factors, one of my personal driving principles, is being a light to others. That is super, super, super important to me. And so when I have a goal like that and I go, yes, but I know what it's going to feel like to them, to me, the outcome of that sharing my light on a big way is going to be massively fulfilling, even if it takes a lot of time. So it's not just about like saying anything that takes time isn't worth it. It's really understanding, is this thing that takes time going to be fulfilling to what is like my actual desires long term? Does that make sense? So it's knowing those internal things and then aligning your goals and your direction and your time and your energy with the things that are actually super important to you. So you look inward first. And I think it's okay too to not make things that are like, maybe you don't know what 10 years down the road looks like. Maybe you just know your next few steps. I think that's okay too.
Oh no, I love all of this, Julie. And we've talked a lot about this in the group about, keeping in alignment with our authentic purpose. And we've talked about that. I wonder if you can even elaborate a little bit. And even today in our meeting,
Yeah.
Jake said something about, you don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step too. So like both of those things, I don't know if you and I are very alignment oriented,
Yes.
but I mean, so let's say if we had some listeners who aren't as familiar with that, maybe explain what you mean and how you get to that winning from within place.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, like getting into a meditation space is a good place to
Mhm,
start. But
mhm.
let's say you're not a meditator. Let's say you could just get out like a pen and a notebook and just start journaling for a minute and go, what are things that are actually really important to me?
Mhm.
Like, how does your family relationships play into things? How where in the importance realm? How is money in the importance realm? How is time in the importance realm? How does freedom in the importance realm? And start to just kind of explore with this air of curiosity. If you can eye it from this air of curiosity, I wonder what, without any judgment. So this is an exploration phase. There's no judgment in what's important to you or what like your real like life goals look like. It's just this, huh, I wonder what that looks like for me. Let's explore that, because it's one of those things that I don't want to impose my personal ones on somebody else. I
Mhm,
want you
mhm.
to look at that for yourself and go, okay, what's really important to me this year? So, like I was telling you earlier, Kim, like the last 6 months for me has been a little like different business wise, because the thing that was most important to me was getting my health back in order. I had done a whole bunch of stuff to get my health back in order. And then it was like, okay, now it's time to take it to the next level and really, really, really focus there. And now I've lost 70 pounds. So, like, next time you see me, be like, and
Bang.
it's moving still. So that's like really, really amazing. But that was I was like, do you know what?
Yep.
The most important thing for me right now is to feed my body nutritious things, to move well,
Right,
to
right.
really get into the psychology of what all of that looks like for me, and to add years to my life, to like, and then business stuff all aligned with that. And so it's all worked out, but it's been a little bit of a shift, because for that moment, for that time, it's been okay, the most important thing to me right now is having that health. And then it kind of aligns with other things. You see it connect. It's like, because why? Because I have 6 grandbabies. I want to be active, healthy grandma that can travel out and go do things with them until they're old. I have a spouse I want to travel the world with. You can see travel comes up a lot. That's a big thing for me too.
Me too.
But like, what do I actually want to spend my time doing, and can I do it? So like, kind of getting into the health thing, I had this dream. I wanted to take I take entrepreneurs on trips all over the world all the time. And I had done a bunch of trips, and I wanted to do one where we went to London and Paris. And so I was like, that's what I want to do. And so my husband and I we had never been. And so we went and scouted it out, and we went to Paris, and my physical body had the hardest time. I couldn't physically do it. By the end, we were only there 5 days. And by the end, we were like, I remember being at the Louvre, like this place that I'd always wanted to go. I love art. I'm there at the Louvre. I couldn't walk around enough to see it. I literally
Oh,
couldn't do it.
right.
And so it was like this, you have like those moments of realization. And I've had a couple where it's like, do you know what? Like these things you want to do, unless you do this other thing, you're not going to be able to go.
Mhm.
You're not going to be able to do any of this. And so it was like, okay, girl, if you don't get your health in control, if you don't start doing these things, you can't physically, you can't be the leader and you can't walk and you're crying in pain. It's not going to work. So it's like that. So order of operations, I have the big thing in the me that says you be a light to others. That's the most important thing to
Mhm.
you. Then I have a health thing that says, yeah, but your health can't actually do it. And so my health was not in alignment with that driving force of me wanting to be a light, with me wanting to be a light in a bigger way around the world, showcasing all of these amazing things to my followers. I couldn't physically do it. And so my health had to take a front seat for a little while. When I ended up taking our group and we did this trip, I ended up being there for like 15 days. We walked about 10 miles a day. And at the end,
Oh,
I had zero issues at all, like running, jumping, skipping. And I've lost even more weight and done way better even since then. But so like it's understanding the core thing. The core thing is I have a driving need, a driving desire to be a light, to help people out of darkness, to show them like happiness, joy, alignment, fulfillment, like this high vibration of being. And in order to do that, I have to have time. I have to have health. I have to have relationships that work. I have to have physical space that's organized in order for me to do that. And so I kind of look at it in order of operations of that way. So if they're just sitting and journaling and going, okay, here's the thing that feels in my heart, and it may feel like a crazy thing. I had a call with a new client yesterday, and she was telling me she wants to get out and do motivational speaking and all these things. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. And she's like, but is that crazy? She'd never done anything like that before. She owns a trucking company. And so she's like, but something in my heart just says that that could be cool. So I think it's just like that for most of us. It's that little thing in your heart that says, wouldn't it be neat if you could?
right.
You know, what if you could express yourself in the world this way? And kind of starting to listen to that, because those are really important keys, and journal about it. Just like go in with an air of curiosity and go, what do I have some deep down things that I would want to do or want to be in this world that I've kind of hidden or maybe not paid attention to. It's a good place to just start exploring at any rate.
Fabulous honesty. I love that whole story, Julie. It was great. And you also explained alignment for folks who may not be far down the path as you are. I totally gotcha because I'm right there. And also what I picked up from you, which I 100% agree with, is you were kind of like after what makes you feel good, because what makes you when we feel good, like everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
So you were kind of saying that with health wise, and then also for folks who maybe haven't, they're not meditators or whatever like that.
Yeah.
If they just sort of focus on like when they envision themselves doing whatever,
Mhm.
and it feels authentically good, that's like a sign, right? The inner voice
Yeah.
talking.
We look for the signs. What does that feel like? And so I'm a feely person, so it's like, what does that feel like in your body when
Oh,
you just
totally.
know something's right? We I think people are more acquainted with when you know something's wrong, you know it's wrong. Every one of us has had that feeling that like, oh, there's something in my stomach that says something's not going to go right with this. Like I have that something is just off with that. I think people are better at recognizing that in the beginning than the right, but like start paying attention to both. Start paying attention to that. Ooh, something feels really good about this. Something's
Right.
lighting my soul on fire. Something's like feeling really amazing in my body. You can start, your soul is trying to like send you messages about,
100%.
what is in alignment for you. And like one of the things I said earlier is getting out of that zone of judgment. If you can just keep thinking about that. It's easy enough to say to get out of that zone of judgment with yourselves and with others, but like really your like driving principles, those things that align with you, they don't have to agree with anybody else. They don't. As long as it's you being a good human on this planet, your way of doing it can be completely unique. And that's what's beautiful about having such a variety of amazing people on earth. And you being your uniquely cool self that may look different to others inspires other people to want to express themselves in their own unique way too. So
100%. It's making me think of actually I have a good friend, my friend Tom does the same thing, but McConaughey's book about about the green lights.
yeah.
Because when we're in alignment, right, all of a sudden you start seeing bumper stickers that somebody comes into your life who's talking about the same. Somebody's in the grocery store and brings up the book that you wanted to read, like right behind you.
Exactly.
It just doesn't it just like you were saying that you just feel like you're in the zone.
You do. And so that's why I say when it's time to do like these goals and New Year's resolutions and whatever, if you start from this place of knowing what's most important to you, knowing like that direction, and then like I said before, sometimes you don't even know the whole story of it, but you can follow those next couple of little aligned steps and keep watching for that. That's going to serve you really, really well. It's actually going to serve you better than, just kind of picking a bunch of fancy things to put up and
Right.
go, those are the things I want. Again, it's not against anything. I travel. I just talked about going to Paris and staying. We stayed in a castle in London. It was very cool. So like nothing against those things, but it's starting from this place of like knowing those things about yourself, being really good about like going, okay, these are the things that are important to me right now. And this is, and then just taking those next step. Like even in, I love Disney. So like in Frozen 2, they have a whole song that's like talking about taking the next right step. And I'm like, yes, if you just keep like this idea of taking the next inspired right step for you and having kind of this idea of, okay, I'm going in this direction. This is because, like my overall, when I was getting my health back, I actually didn't have you need to be at this weight or by this time, which is like the opposite of what people tell you. They say do quantifiable goals. That's what people say, which would be this weight by this time. They always say put a time on it. And instead, I did, okay, nourish body, get body back into the ability to do these things. Obviously, I wanted to lose more fat, gain more muscle, gain more health, gain more vitality, all of those things. But it's been more of a direction. And within that, it's been about, like a 2-year journey. But I haven't gained a single pound back, which for most people, if they started a weight loss journey 2 years ago, they've gained it back and lost it and gained it back and lost it 10 times by now. And like, I feel fulfillment every step of the way. Every time there's like a new, look, I ran further than I ever have today. I've been able to do more than I ever have. Every piece feels like a milestone instead of having this goal that it sometimes if you do like it has to be this much by this date and you miss that, then you feel like a failure.
Right.
Right? You feel like oh, I didn't make that much money by that date. I missed it by $200, even though it was $100,000 goal. I missed it by $200. I failed. But when you have a direction and an alignment, then you can kind of celebrate the entire way, and it's more sustainable, and you're more likely scientifically to actually keep those things because you're rewiring your brain for the patterns in the habit rewiring, which Kim, that is actually so much more important than get it by this date.
100%. And I the self-love expert here, I love that the underlying theme, Julie, is that, and our friend Jeremy Rochford says it too. You can't, what did he say? You can't get thin by hating being heavier.
For sure.
It's about the self-love and also not quantifying, because he has a similar thread like that it's about loving yourself and also not always so focused on the thin, because you've talked a lot about the mobility and enjoying your life and being able, it was about the alignment to love life more. and be
Yes.
be more actively engaged in your life. It wasn't really numbers and time and like all that stuff. It was a
Yep.
higher vibe goal than that.
Yeah. In fact, I wrote most of my book Royal, which is coming out soon, about self-love, while I was much, much more overweight than I am now. I was probably 50 pounds more than I am now, because it's like, and so here's the quantifiable thing I say about that is, I think we go wrong a couple of ways when we talk about self-love in a place where our bodies aren't necessarily in a healthy space. So self-love does not mean eating junk food every single day and just saying, well, I just love myself, so it doesn't matter. A person who actually loves themselves wants to do what's best for their physical self, actually.
Mhm.
So, loving yourself means I love the journey that has taken me to here. I love all of the lessons that this body has held. I love looking and being beautiful and sexy and whatever in whatever body that I have at this moment. Additionally, every day I want to serve myself better. Every day I want to align with my best self. Every day I want to nourish and move and do the things that are going to serve my highest self. And to me, that's true self love, right? True self love doesn't look at it and go, well, I just love being fat, so I'm going to feed myself potato chips and cakes and cookies, and that's all I'm going to eat is super highly processed food, because like those things don't nourish your mind. Like there are so many studies that talk about, you know, the mental decline you have, the sharpness you have to, and the energy you have to, you know, go do anything, and to be a spouse and to be a parent and to like all of those other things that are around us, and to just be like your happiest version of you. Those things lead to depression and like really negative things within your mind as well. And so to me, it's like self love equals some boundaries within, and that it goes within this whole thing we're talking about. When you truly see and love yourself, you want the rest of your life to be a reflection of your highest best, which means the maybe as a business owner, the clients you take on, they're aligned with you, you're aligned with them, and it is a good connection. You're not just taking people because you're desperate to take people.
Right,
You're
right.
in alignment. You know your value. You're there. You're feeding yourself nutritious foods. You don't overconsume buying things. Like that's one of those things that I'm like, I don't actually, I drive a car that's completely paid off because I like it. So I'm like, people ask me that all the time. They're like, Julie, you could have gotten this car or that car or a fancier or whatever. And I drive it's, I mean, it's fairly new and it's an SUV and it does exactly what I want it to do for the family. And I'm like, yes. And then I would have had to do all of these other things that I didn't want to do. So what I wanted to do is give them a cashier's check and them to give me a car
Right.
and for me to have no more energy spent in that world.
Oh, I
That's what I
love it.
want.
I love it. Time freedom.
So yeah, it's when all of those, you love yourself and then you align all of your goals and your actions and your consumption and your business and everything around to those highest principles, to your highest self. Then you start to live the life of the most joy possible, and you're the biggest light to others. You're the best version of you, which leads to happiness for you. And for the people around you, they think it's pretty great too. For your spouse, they think it's pretty great when you are super happy and feeling amazing about yourself. I mean, that's who they married, right? So they're like, yay.
Oh my God, totally. That makes me think of my dear friend Oprah. She doesn't know we're good friends, but we're greatest of friends. She
Oh, of
says that a
course.
lot about keeping yourself filled up, because that is such, people think that sometimes they get stuck in that stigma that loving yourself and self-care is selfish.
Oh, yeah.
When it really is, she talks about whatever's in the cup, keeping ourselves filled up is for her. What overflows is for y'all. That's what she says, right?
Yeah.
Because the biggest gift, just like you just said, Julie, so eloquently, the biggest gift we can give to ourselves, our partners, our kids, our grandkids, our friends, and the world is to keep ourselves filled up. It's a
Hmm.
positive, not a negative. Like Think
Yeah.
about it the other way, right? If somebody's walking around drained and burnt out, are they that much fun to be around? They can't give what they don't have.
Um, No, and this I do have some personal experience with this. So, fun fact about me, when my husband and I got married, now like 21 years ago, we each had 3 kids. So, I had 3 kids, he had 3 kids, now we have 6 kids. Then we had one together. So now we have 7 kids. And during, I'm going to say, like our early married life and when the kids were a lot younger, I definitely did not understand any of this and was in more of a state of depression, I'm going to say, a lot of times, and did not understand the self-care. I was always like, well, I got to do all of this for everyone. And I was totally was a victim-y sort of person back then. And I was not in the best place to be the greatest mom. I'm going to totally say that and be like, you know what? I don't think I was the funnest mom on the planet back then because I was feeling in the depths of hardness with that many kids and step kids and stuff and very messy situations. So we had like I had 3 boys that were step kids that did not love me so much because their mom told them bad stuff about me. And then like right after we got married, my ex, who was the dad of those 3 kids, committed suicide. And so there was some like pretty freaking hard years there for a while. And I'm going to say, like, I did not have self-love in those years. I did not exercise this alignment. I tried to do the thing of serving everyone else before myself, but there was a very like, "Ugh, I can't do it because I have the kids and it's hard and these things." And the transition I've made since then, obviously, which has been a big transition since then, my kids will tell you now, most of my kids are in their 20s. My youngest just turned 18, so they're 18 to 33. They will tell you they much prefer this mom. They much prefer mom who actually loves herself and not as an act of, you know, because I need to say I do because of the circles I run in or something. No, I've actually done the work to appreciate and love the journey I've been on and be okay with those things that were messy in my path and still love those and love myself through it. They much prefer that mom who does the self-care and does things that are in I have boundaries and I do things that sometimes they don't understand, but they still much prefer this version who's happy and joyful and like has that love exuding than old mom who didn't understand any of that. So
Abundance. Mom is abundant.
yeah, they've lived through both and can tell you. So for those of you who are out there going, yeah, but it feels very selfish, or it feels like I can't, or it feels like, give yourself the opportunity again in this area of curiosity. What if you just did it for a day? What if just for a day you decided to try and love yourself for a day? And then what if you tried it again tomorrow and put some of your priorities down about what that would look like?
Right.
And then if you tried it again the next day and explored a little bit more of that journaling thing we talked about, where it's like, okay, but like, what's actually important to me? What if I actually looked at that and then started, if you can just baby step your way out of it and just kind of try it on for a day and then try it on for the next day.
I love that. Try out loving, try love. We can do most things like for a day, right? Try
You
out.
can do it for a day. Just pretend. And like one of the things that I remember getting my first coach that was like helping me through this, and she would have me say, affirmations in the mirror, and I would tell her that feels like a lie. I remember saying that because it would be like, look yourself in the mirror. I know there's going to be people listening to this who have had this experience. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you and you're amazing, and whatever these affirmations she was having me say, right? And at the time, it felt like a lie. So here's like the baby stuff I'm going to give you that I wish I'd had at that time. If going straight to I completely love you and looking at yourself in the mirror feels like a lie, look at yourself and say, I'm going to try and love you more today. Because it's a smaller baby step. So like if you understand like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, And if somebody's in like those bottom rungs and they don't feel safe, they're not going to go do some actions that feel like self-actualization clear at the top. It's going to feel incongruent to them. So it still is with this alignment theme, right? They have to do something that's going to help them feel safe and like they belong, and like they have to work their way up before they can get straight to I'm a self-actualized human and check me out. If somebody out there is feeling like, okay, but I don't, I have, housing scarcity, or I don't know where my next
Right,
paycheck's going to
right.
come from, or I don't know what I'm going to do once I get out of college. I just don't know those things. And that feels scary and unsafe to me. Start with baby steps that help you feel safe.
I love that.
Start with baby steps that help. And so again, with aligning your goals, I would get out a little handy picture of Maslow's hierarchy, kind of in the self-assessment. Where do you feel on here? Do you feel safe? Do you feel like your needs are taken care of? If you don't, those would be first places probably to start your goals. So, because then when those are taken care of, then your mind and your heart can be open to those next steps. Then you can go, okay, now I would like to feel like I have some belonging with other people. Now I feel like I need some esteem. Now I feel like I can do some self-actualizations. But if you try and jump from the bottom to the top, you're actually going to struggle. Your brain's going to have a disconnect and it's going to like short out and be like, nope, can't do it. So it's kind of back to this self-love and understanding where you're at and those driving principles. Your driving things right now could be, I need to feel safe. I need to feel like I have enough money to pay my bills next month. Cool. Those are probably your driving factors right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. Start there and then kind of start to go, okay, now those needs are taken care of. Now, what do I really want? Because it's hard to get what you really want when physical needs and safety aren't taken care of,
Oh,
right, Kim?
totally. Oh, 100%. And I love this too, because it's so similar, Julie, to your weight loss journey, because you took away the quantifiers. It's kind
Mhm.
of like setting the bar, do our best, which you can move up and down as right as you have. So
Exactly.
it takes away. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to go buy 4 ounces of okra and buy some plain yogurt and some blueberries, and I'm going to go run 15 laps around the neighborhood. Like, it's not the quantifiers. It's just
Yeah.
I'm going to love myself more today than I did yesterday.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's it.
And we're not judging ourselves either.
And that can look completely different yesterday than it does today, and can look completely different than it does tomorrow. Like, and that's okay too. It's like, okay, so when you have outside things happen to you, how do you love yourself differently this time? When, sometimes you have an outside thing happen to you. When we were broken up into our small groups in our mastermind this morning, we were having a bit of a discussion about some of the outlier things that happen to us sometimes. We did in my group anyway. And I was like, yeah, so last month I had a dear friend die from suicide. That was an outlying thing that was absolutely wretchedly horrible. And within that, it was okay for me to sit and cry for a whole day and not do anything. And that was the greatest self-love I could do that day. It didn't look like I didn't go to the gym that day. I did not go to do a lot of the things that are on my normal self-love list. But that day, my greatest act of self-love was feeling it and being okay to let go of some of those other things. And then as time has moved on from that, it's been like, yes, but you're not going to allow yourself to stay there forever. We're going to get back up. We're going to keep moving. I hit the gym today between our mastermind and this call today. So those patterns are important. But, so it's okay if your self-love that day looks different than other days. Consider the whole picture of things sometimes. And so, like I said, so self-love does not equal me being sad and then allowing myself to slip into my own depression and allowing all of my patterns and habits that I've worked on for the last 2 years to be completely thrown away a month later. But it does allow me, I'm going to spend time in some grieving time, and that's okay. I'm going to be mad for a minute, and that's okay.
And
I'm going to
feel.
go to the funeral, and that's okay. But additionally, I'm going to love myself enough to pick up afterwards and keep going in those actually aligned steps that I've been working on.
Oh, I love that, Julie. That was fantastic. So I think we kind of this is just so awesome. I think you're gonna reach, I don't think, I know you're gonna reach just tons of people because of humanness. We have all felt these different things in different contexts. The fear, the uncertainty, all of it, right?
Yeah.
Um, what you were calling the evergreen effect rolling into health, relationship, home space. And then I have maybe kind of winding up when you talked about, so you talk about simplifying in all these various little
Yeah.
categories, right? How when we do that, health, relationship, home space, and you talked about clearing things out, it leads to, when we simplify, it leads to more joy, time, and therefore life.
Yep. It does. So, like an example, I'm going to talk a lot about health because that's been a big thing for me lately. An example I gave on a post I made this week was a choice people make frequently with their food is they'll work really hard all day and not think about how they're going to feed themselves, and it gets to be like 7 o'clock at night, and they're like,
Mhm.
"Okay, I'm hungry. I need to feed the kids. We're just going to do whatever's fast." And they go through the drive-through to save time, and then they come home and everyone eats and it's over with. Okay. So they spent maybe 20 minutes going to get fast food and maybe like $50 going to get fast food for their family, right? The long-term effects though, this is what I want people to consider is, did it save you time? Because if every single time you do that, you are creating a stronger addiction pattern to foods that don't serve you,
Right.
you are eating foods that actually, there's these massive studies that came out in 2021, 2022 that a lot of people haven't looked at, that these ultra processed foods literally shave off like 10 to 15 years of lifespan. It's a lot of lifespan. So every time you do that, you're shaving off actual years of your life. It ends up leading to dementia later on. And so it's like, to save, and in all honesty, when you simplify the way you eat, you could have totally eaten in 20 minutes for your family. So like one of the things I do on my YouTube channel is I teach people how to prepare things so you can make a really simple meal. So like, let's say you had done some of those things, and I talk about cooking a giant batch of brown rice and freezing some of it. So
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
you microwave your brown rice for 2 minutes. You have a frozen bag of veggies you can put on, and then you throw a little bit of protein on it. And guess what? In probably 10 minutes, you have a super, super healthy meal that is just more simple than we have done in the past. But I'm like, people have been eating that way for thousands and thousands of years, and the people who eat that way are the ones that end up having these centenarian lives where they live to 100 plus with
Mhm.
brains that still work. And so it's like simplifying those things, simplifying your physical space. We don't need 500 pieces of clothing. We don't. Everything we buy and consume and bring into our house, we now have to take care of. So it's not just the time you spent and the money making the thing. It's now you have to wash it, and now you have to actually earn the money to house it, and now you have to dust it and take care of it and wonder where it is, and all of this time we spend in the things we consume. When we simplify everything out, I think you would be shocked at how much more time you end up having.
100%. And we feel better.
You feel 1,000 times better, 1,000 times better. Physical things actually carry their own energy to them. And when you simplify it all out, your energy just, again, I'm going to talk about feelings a lot, but it's fine. Your energy just, you feel like you have more energy to do things. You're happier, you're lighter. I think it's one of those things that I do in challenges all the time when I'm doing one of these simplifying challenges, which I'm going to do another one in about 3 weeks. So that'll be good. When you clear out a physical space, you emotionally feel crazy different about it. All of a sudden,
Oh,
you feel
100%.
like a load has been lifted. You feel lighter. You feel so like if you're sitting out there and you're like, I don't have energy, and this seems like counterintuitive because I'm going to ask you to do something that takes energy. find a physical space that kind of represents the energy you want to have. So if you want to have more business energy, clear out your office. If you want to have more health and emotion, like health energy, clear out your fridge, clear out your cupboards. It's going to take energy for the moment to do. But if you just take like one day and go, okay, I'm going to do this one thing, it's going to serve you for like months and months and months after.
Oh, 100%. I totally agree. And part
Yeah.
of the principles of feng shui and everything else, like you want to be in that room,
Hmm.
or you want to be at that desk. We can feng shui a desk space even, right?
Yeah.
Oh, because I've had the experience, and I'll admit it, Julie, that's I'm a thrower, but I'm married to Ratatouille, so I have to constantly get rid of stuff. And right
Yes.
now we have a room that's accumulating. I'm like, I can't stand it. I can't
Yeah.
stand it. And this
Yeah.
weekend it's going.
Yeah.
Because it's just it does, you feel heavier.
You
It's so
feel
true.
heavier. You feel heavier. And that's true of everything in your life. So it's true of relationships too. So if you're kind of keeping relationships with people that you're like, oh, not that guy again. It's really not serving me, but I'm trying to be nice and I'm trying to
Right.
like so that energetic clutter can happen anywhere. It can happen with the
Relationship
food you're
clutter.
consuming, with your physical positions. It can happen in your relationships. When you just like really, again, look at yourself, align and go, okay, I'm going to simplify everything out that doesn't feel aligned. It frees up everything and it allows you to go and hit goals and like to live your happiest life and to do those like New Year's resolution-y sorts of things at a much higher level. But I'm going to invite you to do that part first and then move forward, and you'll have 10 times the energy, 10 times the success. Everything will be like the green light principle where everything just like happens so much easier. It's the easy
Totally.
button.
All about the inner voice and alignment. Oh, 100%. Well, you have been absolutely fantastic, Julie May. And for our listeners, I'm going to have Julie's link to her YouTube channel
Yep.
below. And her book is currently at the last stages of editing, and once that is released, I will then add that here as well, and any contact information that you would like to provide, so you can, feel free to reach out to her as well. And so I would like to thank you for such an amazing, heartfelt, authentic episode.
Thank you so much for having me, Kim. I just enjoy hanging out with you. So anytime you're like, hey, can we do a thing together? I'm like, Kim is in alignment with my happiness, friends. Kim is just like a source of joy and light. And so anytime you're like, hey, let's do a thing, I'm like, awesome, Kim time. It's going to be great.
Right back at you, my friend. You are fantastic.
Thank you so much.